What's up, everybody? Shawn here, back with another live Live to Roll. We got the man, the myth, the legend, Bobby back with us. So I've been a little vague with where he's been and everything. So we'll get into all that. Let him tell his story. I didn't want to get into too much personal details. But yeah, we're back with another show. We're just gonna do like a hangout Q&A show, welcoming Bobby back. And so yeah, I'm Shawn. I'm a C5, C6 quad from a snowboarding accident 19 years ago now. Tom, go ahead.
What's up, everybody? These are my favorite shows. I like the quad talk. Just a couple quads, chilling, shooting the shit, catching up, talking about life. Super excited and happy to have Bobby back. Miss you, man. Love you. You're not allowed to have any more health issues. I'm saying it right now. So if you do, you're gonna be in big trouble, Bobby, with me. So it's not happening. Yo, I'm Tom Conaway, C6B quadriplegic for the last 25 years. And I think I'm going to take a second just at the top of the show to mention our sponsors, Urology Professionals, Mobility Professionals, and iBot, Mobius Mobility. You'll hear about more of them later on in the show. Bobby, you want to take it?
I can
Say what?
take it. I can introduce myself for sure. That's the easy part. I'm Bobby Rohan, C56 quadriplegic of 33 years, almost going on that 34 next month, it's coming around the corner. So
Oh, wow.
usually this is the point where I can. I do have something funny to say though, Tom. There was a you're in the hospital and you're watching a lot of TV. There was and I was always too lazy to change the channel, and so I watched a lot of Big Bang Theories, and one of the
Yeah.
guys did the opposite, dressed up as his buddy Sheldon, and I'm like, I was thinking of the three of us. I'm like, I can go as like Tom, get real slouchy, bend my, pull my knees apart, and I'd be like this. What's up, everybody? How's it going?
Oh, my God.
I don't know why. I'm like, that could be my Halloween costume. Like, what's up, everybody?
Uh,
All right. Well,
we all
well,
be each.
let me straighten my posture. Just kidding.
I don't know. It was classic. It's like, it kind of gave me, I'm like, I have to tell that to Tom. So that was the first thing I thought about. So I had to give you a little laugh there, Tom. But
Well,
I'll,
next year for Halloween, I'll go as Bobby. You can go as me. And
there you go.
Shawn
Yeah.
and Brianna can swap. How about
Ha! That would be funny.
We'll all try to like go as each other.
I'm, I'm down
I
if
think that's
Brianna's down.
well,
Uh,
speaking of live updates and what's been going on with us, um, Bobby, what's been going on with you, man? Where you been the last couple weeks? I know we were talking about it a little bit before the show,
Yeah.
but can you kind of give us a rundown as to what's been going on with you, and we can talk about it a little bit.
Well, I'm going to tell you one thing. I am sick of these. I think this is the third time it's like, oh, Bobby's back. I think since we started the show, one time I had a broken
that's
hip,
true.
so I was gone. I was gone for a couple weeks, and then I had the pressure sore or the surgical sore, and so I was gone for about a month from that. So, and I think this is the third time we've had this
I feel like this is
stupid.
the most significant one, though, for some. Has
This
it
is
been?
this
Yeah.
is the one. This. It was. I almost lost my life, and I could have died a couple times. Which I was told, and actually, one of the it kind of really hit me today when my wife was helping me kind of figure out some of the timeline, and I was just like, "Really, I was that bad?" And she's like, "Oh yeah." And I just didn't realize, what was going on, what the doctors were doing, and kind of weren't doing. So it was, kind of, it's hit me big. And so, yeah, it was pretty big medical. And some of it could have been prevented. And I'll get into all that later. But basically, in December, I got COVID. Didn't think anything of it, got through it, took the medication. I rebounded, got back up on my, my wheels or in my chair fairly quickly, and The only thing I just kept feeling was I was dragging. Like I always felt like I was tired throughout the day. So I got COVID on December 15th. And through the rest of the month of December, I was just like, man, I just cannot get my energy going. I feel like I'm dragging. I feel like there's always something wrong. In fact, for Christmas, I was going to go to the Rams game and see the Broncos, which I wish I didn't do, only because the Broncos got beat so bad that day. But what happened was, the day before, I stayed in bed all day to rest just so I can go do something like that. I mean,
Yeah.
that's how tired I'm, for like when I was doing the shows with you guys, I would, at least lay down until about 2, get up, and then as soon as we were done with the show, I'd go eat something really quick and then go lay down because I was just like burnt. Well, New Year's Day comes around. The next day I wake up and I'm feeling like I have a bad UTI. And we all know what that feels like. You're kind of inside shaking, and I'm just like, dang it. I have this bad UTI and I do not feel good at all. And my wife's like, are you sure? And I'm like, I'm telling you, it is a bad UTI. I'm starting to shiver. So I don't like to drive when I have something like that, when I just can't, when my arms are shaking like that. So I called 911. I went to the hospital. And when I got to the ER, I told them I have a lot of pain down in my stomach area. So maybe it could be my stomach. Maybe it is a bad bladder infection. I don't know. So the doctor just said, we're going to do a CT scan just to make sure everything's okay down there in your stomach. So they do the CT scan, and he comes back and he goes, everything's negative. So you're going to have to remember this part of the story. So I'm in the hospital for 2 days, get a quick bump of IV antibiotics. And I know my infectious disease doctor, she's like, your number's up, but I'm going to give you a little bit of IV for 2 days. You're going to go home. You should be okay. And your body is better at fighting these UTIs, but I think on this one, we just need a little bit of IV antibiotic, and then I think you can fight the rest. So I go home after 2 days, and since I got out on January 4th or the 5th, I'm sorry if I don't remember the exact, but on the 5th I got out, and still get home. I just felt like I was dragging. I would do one thing and then just want to go lay down. And then all of a sudden on Friday night before everything, the shit hits the fan, got in bed early. We had some pizza, ate a slice of pizza. And all of a sudden I'm just getting this, man, I cannot catch my breath. And my wife's like, are you sure you're not having a panic attack? Because when I'm not feeling well, I get, feel like I'm having a panic attack. And she said, maybe it could be that. And so I'm like, I don't know. It doesn't feel like the same. I just feel like I can't breathe. So I'm, trying to get air. Then the next day I wake up, I'm a little bit better in the morning. But I would say by noon, I still had that same effect. All of a sudden, I'm just like, I feel like I cannot breathe. And Ellen said, why don't we go to urgent care and get your lungs checked out? So we go to urgent care. He checks me out. He's like, everything looks good. I don't hear anything in your lungs. Your oxygen rate is great. It's at 98. Everything looks good. But I'll do an x-ray if you want, just to make sure. And I said, yeah, why not? So we do an x-ray, and then I go back home. And he calls me a couple hours later, and I missed his phone call. But when I listened to the message, he's like, yep, X-ray was clear, nothing in your lungs, uh, nothing to worry about. The only thing I would just tell your wife is, on your X-ray, it did look like you might have a big heart. So tell your wife you have a big heart, and then maybe next time you see a doctor, just you know, might want to get a follow up on something like that. So I'm like, big heart, like what could be going on?
We all know Bobby's a sweetheart. He's got a big heart.
I do,
Yeah.
and you know, the next day on Sunday, I wake up and it's starting to get worse, and I'm now feeling like I cannot breathe. So once again, 911, go to the emergency room. I finally get seen by the doctor, and they're checking me out, and then they're finally doing ultrasound. And and I told my wife, at first, don't come. Everything. Why sit there and wait until we get seen by a doctor? I'll let you know. And even because the ERs back then in January were so backed up, so when I got to the emergency room, I sat in the hallway for an hour to wait for a bed.
Yeah.
So it was crazy.
Well,
So
it's kind of like the last like 5 or 6 weeks. It's just been like peak COVID. Like that was peak COVID, RSV, flu. Like everybody was
everybody
sick.
had something, yeah.
Yeah.
And they were, so it was just because the hospital I wanted to go to, I couldn't even go to that hospital. So
Yeah.
that kind of sucked. So I go to the other hospital that, I've been there before, so it wasn't that bad. And so my wife comes, and then finally a nurse comes in, says, well, the doctor's going to admit him, looks like there might be some fluid around his heart. And that's all the information we had to go on. Of course, they're swabbing my nose, and I'm just like, oh, great. Now I'm in the hospital again for whatever's going on. And the nurse said it's most likely what they're going to do is maybe do a procedure or give me some water pills, like, Lasix. So my wife's like, well, you want me to go home and grab a couple items for you? And I'm like, yeah, why don't you go do that? So she leaves, and it was probably like 10 minutes later, a cardiologist comes back into the room and says, I'm Dr. Lee, and I'm going to rush you to surgery right away. Your heart has a lot of fluid in the inner lining of your heart. It's the most I've seen in a long time. And if I don't get this water off your heart could stop any minute now. So this is emergency. So is there somebody you want me to call? And I'm like, yeah, well, call my wife. And, so my wife gets the phone call. She hears like, this guy can almost die any second now. I'm rushed, the funny thing is, I'll tell you this one little bit, you're thinking you're going to this surgery, he first tells me about it. He's like, we're going to insert this catheter and drain that fluid, and you're going to be awake the whole time. So we're puncturing, something that, and I'm thinking like Pulp Fiction,
Oh God.
I was like, oh my God. And then all of a sudden this lady comes in, she's got the cap, and you can tell she works in the surgery rooms. And she looks at me and she goes, I see here you're a C5-6 quadriplegic. And yeah, Mike, go make your appointment with your college cardiologist. Yeah. The lady first asked me, how bad does your dysreflexia get? And I'm just like, thank God somebody knows me. She's
I was
like,
gonna say that's so cool. She knew.
yeah. I said, okay, great. I go, how do you know? And she goes, I worked at Long Beach VA, and I know, I know quads. And I'm just like,
Damn, that is so lucky.
That's
somebody,
lucky.
somebody's looking over me
I'm
because
like getting anxiety, like listening to the story.
because when they rush me, I'm in this room. There is I swear it was probably 80, but to me it looked like 100-inch TV, and it's a huge ass monitor. it has a split screen, and it's basically focusing on my heart, so they can draw the catheter into, and they can see everything. Just so it's huge, and it's sitting right here. I got this big machine here, and then barely can see the doctor because there's so many machines. Next thing you know, I mean, he's poking, and then
So did
he
you
finally
watch the screen? You
I
watched it
have to
go?
be awake, and I'm watching it on the screen the whole thing. Yeah, and
That's
they won't
it.
give me anything to relax because they want me awake for my blood pressure. And next thing I know, I hear this pop, and he's like, "I'm through," and then he's like, gets
Oh
down
my
into a
god.
part, and next thing I know, I feel like the biggest pain in my neck and shoulder right here. And all of a sudden, all numbers and everybody's starting to scream. And thank God that nurse was in there, and they're like, hold on, hold on. Everybody just stopped doing, she said, "Doctor, stop. Let's see where the dysreflexia go." And he goes, "What?" "He's in dysreflexia. Let's see where it goes." And then she comes over and she starts checking my sweating. And she goes, "Yeah, he's in pretty bad. So let's start going slow." She grabs some Dilaudid and she says to the doctor, "If I don't give him Dilaudid right now, we're going to be shut up creek with his blood pressure." So
Yeah.
she starts inserting a little bit of Dilaudid at a time. And all of a sudden, all the numbers starts coming back into play. I'm doing great. And then next thing you know, he's like, "All right, everything's starting to drain." And so I'm just sitting there. Everyone's calm. Next thing you know, when they hold up the bottle, this big ass bottle, 7.5 liters of fluid, and he goes, "That was in your heart."
Seven out of your heart. That's like a. Oh my god.
Like, I mean, compared to a
That is.
gallon, like how much is that?
That's
Like,
like a.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm
That's like
sorry,
a gallon of.
0.75,
oh,
0.75 liters,
okay,
0.75
okay,
liters, almost a
Okay.
liter.
yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah,
yeah,
that's just for reference. That's about. This is 700 milliliters. So this is just under that. That would
yeah.
fit like that. Fill this bottle. I mean, a full bottle.
And then now
That's that's
shove it into your heart.
yeah into your heart. That's in
Yeah.
that's crazy, Bobby.
Yeah.
Well, we're all glad you're safe
So,
and home now, man.
and that
Jesus.
was the first part. And so they leave the catheter in there and they put me in ICU. And the doctor's like, "He's got a live catheter. We want it there in case we have to drain any more. It's more, we don't want to go in and out." So they had me in ER, and one of the doctors took me out of, ICU. One of the doctors took me out of ICU after 3.5 days. And somebody, I don't know, so let's see here. And then included reactions of, so basically they were giving me some drugs and basically I was full of fluid. So somebody put me on Lasix to where my heart rate went up 3 times. You
So
know,
just
uh,
like get a lot of understanding. What was causing the fluid? Like you mentioned, like they believe it's like long COVID, like a long COVID symptom
they
that
think
was
it's
like.
either, they said we've been seeing this type of fluid buildup on people's organs, heart, lungs, other parts of their body because of COVID. Or they just said the reaction is about a month after COVID that people have been complaining about this and coming in. So they think it's from COVID. A lot of people were calling me and texting me like, "Oh, it's because of your vaccine." It's all, I mean, like, well, I said, thinking like, I got my vaccine done in October. So I don't
Yeah.
know if that could have been it, but who knows? Who knows what it could have been? And so
Uh,
what happened? What's that, Tom?
yeah, I was just gonna say, like, regardless of whatever was the direct cause, it's not continuing to happen, though, is it? Like, since you've been home in the hospital, like, you're not
No,
getting the same kind of fluid buildup.
no. Luckily, and my cardiologist was right in telling a lot of the other doctors because then all of a sudden we had to get a kidney doctor. And then because what happened is it was 5 days after the procedure for the heart, all that fluid now went into the lungs. And so they noticed, like, all of a sudden I'm telling everyone, why am I feel like I still can't breathe? And as they do an x-ray, they're like, now it's all in his lungs. And of course, on a weekend, nobody wanted to drain my lungs. There was not a doctor there that said, oh, we don't do that. That's like the week doctors or something, like, the regular weekday doctors that come in. That's not,
Doesn't sound like a very competent medical facility.
Yeah,
that's for the Monday through Friday, the 9 to 5ers. That's not us.
Sorry you're sick after 5 o'clock on the hours of between like Saturday and Sunday.
Finally somebody, or after my wife and my brother just yelling at everybody, finally somebody said, okay, we'll do it. And Sunday night I had my left lung drained. There we get 1.1 liter of fluid out of my left lung. So I get turned on my side, ultrasound, they poke a needle, and then next thing I know, I see this jar, and they're like, this is how much fluid we got out of you.
That's so crazy.
And then the next day on Monday, finally a regular doctor comes in, they're 9 to 5, work day. He comes in, and he's the smart one. He's like, why didn't anybody do this sooner? And let's make sure we get everything. So they turn me. They get 1.1 liter out now of my right lung, and it goes back to my left lung and says, wow, there's fluid still there too, and drains another half a liter out of my left lung. So all in all, I had about 1.6 or 1.7 liter or 2.7 liters of fluid drained out of my lungs, left and right.
Gnarly. Yeah,
dude, that's so crazy.
And then the funny thing on top of all this, back when I got COVID, my wife was hanging around me. She slept in the same bed. She never got COVID. She was around friends, never got COVID. So now all this fluid is drained off my lungs. My brother and my wife are sitting there at my bedside, and all of a sudden they're both going, I just feel like shit. And my brother's like, I feel like shit. And they both get COVID.
Damn.
So they both get, they get tested. They both get kicked out of the hospital. Now I'm on my own, and I'm still in ICU. So for 2 days in ICU, just had to, be real. Like, I was like trying to be wide awake and like directing my care. And then finally I get, back up into, on the regular floor. I was there for a week, and I'm like, I want to go home. I can't wait to go home, talk to my regular doctor. I'm like, I want to go home. How about coming this Friday? And he's like, yeah. And in the background, I'm hearing it, but I'm not hearing it from my wife and another doctor. They're like, this dude needs to go to rehab. He doesn't realize how much he lost. And I'm just
that's
like,
what I was going to ask you about is like, what was that like being down for 5 or 6 weeks after already being down for as long as you've been down, Bobby? Like, I mean, you were down for a couple months before that.
I know, man.
Yeah. At first, I didn't realize how far I was down.
Hey, Bobby, if I can interrupt you for just a second, I just want to address a couple comments. First of all, Erica, THC Goddess, thanks for reminding everybody to like the video. I appreciate you so much representing. And also, Kev joined us last week for the gaming stream that I did. Yeah, man, any and all disabilities, disabled or not, more than welcome to come hang out. Dude, thank you so much for coming back. You're, of course, more than welcome. Anybody and everybody's welcome. And I hope, a lot of this disabled stuff just overlap, like disability stuff is relatable to lots of different kinds of disabilities. So I hope you find it helpful and entertaining, and we appreciate you being here. And everybody else, too. Lots of love to Mason and Ben and Olivia and Andrew and Luis and everybody. Roy, great to see all of you guys. and thank you so much for joining. Okay, back to
Yeah.
Bobby.
Yeah, no problem. To answer your question, Tom, I didn't realize how bad I was or how weak I was.
Yeah,
And, I hadn't seen my wife now for a week as I was in the hospital. And finally, she gets tested and gets cleared, gets a PRC, and she's negative. And so it was like 2 days before I'm about to come home. And my wife comes in and she looked beat up, like she had battled a week of COVID. And I'm just like, well, I'm going home Friday. And just the look on her face. And she's just like, do you realize how bad you are or how weak you are? And I'm
yeah,
like, no, tomorrow. Or I called in a nurse and I asked her, just help me sit up and, let's just see how it goes. And I sat up in bed fully, like in a long sit, and I felt like I was going to pass out right away.
yeah,
I laid down and my wife just starts crying. And I'm like, shit, I should have taken this offer to go to this rehab. That's not far from the house. And I know, um, I kind of knew a little bit about it. So I'm like, shit, I got to go to rehab. And the next morning I call, the lady's like, okay, this needs to happen. You got to talk to that caseworker. Somehow, out of the blue, Friday morning, the lady from the rehab place comes and visit my wife and I. And she was just going to come and talk to us about it. And she says, it's taken a week to get into this place. She comes in and she goes, I have a bed for you. And on Friday or tonight, you're going to the rehab. And I'm just like, what? So 3 hours or about 5 hours later, I'm off to rehab. I get there Saturday morning. It was like boot camp. The first thing OT comes in and they're like, three nurses are in there and they're like, we're going to put you in the shower chair. And they put me on the shower chair and thank God I had a tilt because I get there, I sit up and I'm like, all right, I'm going to take a shit. And next thing I know, I am ready to pass out. And they put me in the tilt and I'm just like, whoa, that was close. So here I am laying in a tilt and taking a shower. So that's how weak I was. And it was kind of like starting all over again of rehab. I mean, some of it reminded me when I first got hurt 33 years ago, but in a different way. Now I know how my body works. And it was just mind blowing how weak and how fatigued I got, real quick. And
Well, it is mind blowing, but it's also not because like it that is like reality of like stays like that is it goes away so quickly and it takes so fucking long to come back. And I don't know, a lot of people don't like consider that or think about that, and like just 1 or 2 weeks down can, be 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks back. More sometimes. Like my grandpa, he's got a lot of health issues, and he was in the hospital right before Christmas too. Minor heart procedure, pacemaker replacement, punctured a valve, lost half the blood in his body, ended up being in the ICU for like a week, But then he needed to go to rehab for like 5 or 6 weeks just to get his strength back to be able to like sit up and operate and do his thing. And that is kind of the big fear of things like this is I mean, I'm very glad that they addressed the fluid on your heart and your lungs and stuff, but it's just so freaking tough. Like that happening, puts you in a much more precarious situation because of now the required time to rehabilitate to just get back to kind of normal baseline function. Like it's so freaking
yeah,
hard.
I've never been in that kind of position where, I've been that, I've gone to the hospital for a UTI or I've gone to the hospital for pneumonia for, a week one time, I just coughing up a lung and just, they're like, just, you're going to be in the hospital. We're going to just take care of those lungs. And one thing about my lungs, and I think what has ended me up with some of the illness that I have received before is, and my lungs were great when I was an athlete, but I grew up with really bad asthma until I was 14 and really got into sports and finally, developed to get out of it. But my lungs are just always never been quite great. Whenever I have that first common cold, I got to have my inhaler with me and just like, okay, just that's how bad my lungs have always been. And so this is the first time where I had to make that decision to go to a rehab. And, here I am starting all over again. And at first I was really scared. I'm like, they're going to try to teach me things that, I have a certain system, how we do things like, right. Shawn, you do your transfer a certain way. Tom, you get in bed a certain way. And, I have it a certain way too. And I'm like, they're going to be putting a sliding board under my ass. They're going to be like, try this, try that. This rehab place was amazing. And now they're like, how did you used to do it? Just show us. And that's what we're going to work on. So it was pretty amazing. And then, all in all, too, my physiatrist is the medical director there. And I didn't even know that before I went there. So it was like,
crazy and cool.
Yeah, it was Sunday morning or Saturday morning when just before they were about to get me in the shower chair, one of the doctors come in and he's like, who's your doctor? And I'm like, well, my everyday doctor is this one dude, but that's when I have a minor cold or something. But my spinal cord doctor is Dr. Vasily. And everybody's looking at each other and I'm just like, is that a bad thing? And they're like, she's like the medical director here. I'm like, get out of here. No, I didn't. So, and it was really nice too, because after that Saturday,
which rehab was it, Bobby?
It was called Encompass in Tustin. So down here in Orange County, pretty big facility.
It was a nice little facility. I went and hung out with Bobby for a day.
Shawn came and visited me. So we just hung out. Did we go outside? Where did we go, Shawn? Was it?
We just went to the PT room and around and checked out what they had all there and just hung out in your big private room they were all private rooms and
that was nice. It was like, when you're in ICU, you have your own room. And then when they transferred me, I had my own room because when they took me out of ICU, I was still on this COVID protocol because my wife and my brother had it when they were at the visiting me. So then for 5 days, I had to swab my nose to make sure I didn't get COVID. So they put me in my own private room when I got out of ICU. Then I go to rehab. And then this room is right, Shawn, we could have fit about 15 wheelchairs and everybody still get around.
It was a very big, spacious room. I've been into quite a few hospital rooms and rehabs, and that's one of the biggest I've ever been in.
Yeah. If I was up to it, I would have had a big ass Super Bowl party, hey, come on, and pretty, good sized TV, about a 40-inch TV. So
nice TV, nice full bathroom, private bathroom. Yeah, it was good.
Shout out to our Chicago fam. Robert, thanks for joining us. And Kevin, super looking forward to meeting you and seeing you at the Chicago Abilities Expo. We're very excited for that show. And what's up, Robert, Kelly in the chat? Thanks for all the love, everybody.
And I want to say to everybody in the chat, because I keep seeing the pop-ups of, glad you're getting better, Bobby. Glad you got through that. So for all our listeners that are on right now, thank you so much for all those well wishes. It was pretty scary. And
your wife's doing better now, too. She's recovered.
And that was... that was great for her that, when I did go to that rehab, it helped her gain her strength back from her getting COVID.
Yeah, she got to recover.
Yeah. And, I get home. I took a taxi ride home and, because I didn't want to do a transfer in my wife's car. So I did accessible, ride home, get home. I was a little out of sorts, but that night getting in bed and she's right there and the transfer, and I was just like, yep, I knew it. Getting in my bed was 10 times easier than when I was trying to get on the mat in the PT, every day we're working for 2 weeks on the mat, and I'm just like, why is everything so much harder here? When I try to sit up or when I try to roll or try to do this, everything's, I kept telling everybody, I'm like, my bed is a lot easier. And I was right. So once I got home, I felt like, okay, yeah, my bed is a lot easier. So it was great to see that my strength was back up, that I was able to do whatever I do, getting in and out of bed, getting dressed and stuff like that. It was a lot easier.
Yeah, man, that's
I've
awesome to
retained
hear.
some water too, Bobby. I got puffy
What?
feet. I said I've retained some water too. I got puffy feet. Like I've had like bad edema for like the past 2 weeks, and I can't figure out why. Well, I know why. It's because I'm spending too much time in my wheelchair, and I'm not like spending enough time like in bed with like my feet elevated.
Uh,
Yeah, but my feet have been really puffy. I don't know like if anybody deals with edema, but it's like pretty common side effect for quadriplegics or anybody who's like wheelchair bound. It happens a lot more commonly in like older people that like sit in their recliner all day and stuff. At least that's what like one of my caregivers said. But um, I woke up this morning and my left foot is like just really puffy. Like I'm it's like pretty bad like pitted edema. And
so you're going to have to get some of these sexy, uh, compression socks that,
yeah,
that would probably help some of it, with your circulation. It's, a lot of it too, one thing, with now I have AFib because of the heart was damaged with all that water. So now it's all our circulation. So our heart is already working so hard to get everything pumping down to those feet and back up. And
So, Bobby,
so
are you gonna have to continue wearing those from like now on?
it's more, I think my blood pressure is getting better, so I don't think I'm going to have to continue too long.
Okay.
I want to show off my
I
sexy
didn't know
leg.
if it just because of the edema or other things like if different complications. Yeah, just
Yeah, no, I
oh,
didn't.
we can't lose the sexy legs, Bobby. That's for sure.
No. No, luckily I didn't have the edema. It was more for blood pressure. So,
Okay,
yeah.
cool. And shout
Roy,
out to Roy in
happy
the chat.
Life Day.
Yeah, happy
Celebrating
tomorrow's his
37
37th
years
anniversary.
in his one motorcycle accident. And congrats, that's amazing. That's a
That's a pretty big
long
milestone.
time
37
and a
years
lot
is
of obstacles overcome. That's 37 years. So we're here celebrating with you, Roy, and hope you have a wonderful day tomorrow, doing whatever it is you end up doing. Yeah, I am not looking forward to wearing compression socks either. I'm gonna like play around my like the way I sleep. I'm gonna sleep the next couple nights with my feet elevated above my head and like fully flat, fully. Sometimes I'll put the head of my bed up too a little bit, um, especially like in the middle of the night if I start to spasm. But I'm gonna try the opposite. Put the feet up, see how that affects me. But also, like my big problem is not spending enough time out of my chair, and I don't know, like it's. Well, I do know it's. I'm just not comfortable in my bed that long. I don't sleep that much. Like I'm just a lot more comfortable operating my chair, and I'll do like 18 hours, 20 hours in my
see,
chair, and
that's
then
a
like
long time,
four,
Tom.
like four or
That's a
six in
long
the
day.
bed, and
Yeah,
that's
that's a
not
little.
comfy.
See, I prefer. I also don't do well like long periods in the bed. That's why like a long hospital stay like that would for sure wear me down. Like Bobby, like it would take me those couple weeks to recover. Like my blood pressure, just like, even when I'm like that first half hour in my chair when I get up in the every morning after 8 hours in bed, I'm like, whoo, like let me adjust to this for a minute. But I always try to do 8 hours, bro. That's my thing. Is I do an 8 hour sleep plus I do an hour of stretching. So like I'm in bed for close to 9 hours every day or night.
I
Which
tried to do 8 hours last night, and I got seven. I like went to bed at midnight, and I
that's
got up at 7. So I was like, but now I got my mom in my chat in the chat being like, Tom, you have
Oh,
to.
she's going to get on your ass, Tom. She's
I
going to
know now Mom Conway's on my ass. No, I need a thumb. But Kim's been telling me the same thing. She's like, yo, like you got some puffy feet. You gotta be careful. Um, and I don't know, like everyone has to do necessary things to continue to maintain their health. Like I'm not as comfortable in my bed as I'm in my chair. And one of the reasons is because I'm just not. I'm very dependent in bed, and I don't have caregivers. Like I don't have people here, so anything that I need to do, like I got to get up out of bed, do multiple transfers and do that stuff. So I don't know. It's like
Yeah.
I'm just like a lot. Like I need to be up because like I gotta be able to operate, be independent and stuff. But regardless, I have to make sure my feet and my health and my skin integrity and everything stays okay because that's what comes like starts to become a risk, especially like pitting edema and stuff, is like pressure sores and other complications that can come along with that.
So, man, you
But
gotta
yeah,
watch out, bro, because like Bobby has been one of the healthiest guys I've known for my injury, as far as taking care of his skin, eating healthy, like exercising and all that. And like this last year, it scared me with with some of the health stuff that Bobby's been dealing with over here. Because I'm
I know.
like, man, I like.
I'm starting to think like I should start over drinking, smoke, eat out like every night of like Jack
That's
in the
like,
Crack,
yeah.
and
Do we
you
just
know,
go for like the live
yeah,
fast, die young?
I'm done. I'm like, here I am, like always trying to eat the healthiest foods and take care of my body, and you know,
hyperbaric chambers, like
yeah,
all these like crazy.
I'm done, man. Bring on the bad stuff. Maybe I got my luck will turn around. Who knows? But
Well, I don't think it's
I
in a
get it.
way.
Hey, Tom,
Uh,
I get it. When I was younger and I lived on my own, yeah, it's. I mean, I waited till the last second to get in bed because it's like, you know, getting in bed is just, you're like, okay, shit. Now I have to go. I'm not doing it. So yeah, I used to stay up that late too, and I remember I used to have the puffy feet, and nowadays I'm, getting to your 50s, Tom, you'd be like, oh, 8 o'clock is the time you have to go to bed. I don't know. I mean, like 50's not even that old too, so I'm like, but I mean, I also like getting out of my, I like a different surf. Like Shawn gets on the couch,
I get it
and
exactly. So I get in the couch during the day.
when I
Like
used to
that's
drive a lot, that's when I used to stay in my chair more often because like at least I got into a different seat, and it was like,
yeah.
oh, okay, back in my chair and then back in the car. When I used to run errands around and then get home, and I'd be like, during the day, closer at night, my wife's like, it's 8:30. She's like, I'm going to bed. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna stay up, watch TV, or and then go to bed around 11. And now that I haven't been driving as much, especially when COVID first started hitting, and I'm like, I'm not a person that likes to get on the couch because I don't know about you, Shawn, but I feel stuck on the couch. So I'm like, I just never been a couch person. Plus, my couch is really soft. So I hate getting back into my chair.
So that's the thing. Like when I buy my couches, this is like I'm on like the second set of couches that I've bought since my injury. Like I go into the furniture store, I line up my chair to make sure that it's about level height, chair transfer. I will transfer into the couch, sit into it to make sure that it's a good fit. So like being tall like me, we need that high couch because I hate having my knees up at my chest like if I'm sitting in a couch. Like that's why I won't sit in most random people's couches because they're all low and like these super like I can get in and out of them most of the time if they're not too low, but they're not very comfortable to sit in, like you said. Like
But I mean,
you
when you're
have to get like the right. I'm gonna invite you over here. You could get into this couch because you're like the same height as me. Try it, and I guarantee you'll be like, "Oh, this is actually not that bad. I like this."
but you don't think, but when I'm trying to get back into my chair, I just like it. Just always think like there's a lot of give in
So
couch.
And that's the other thing too. Material, you can't buy a fabric one. It has to be like leather, or mine's like a vegan leather, like like a pleather, because of the slide. Like that fabric, my butt
Yeah.
is sticking every time and sliding. Like there's no way. It's too much friction.
Used to have
So
one of
yeah, there's
those.
a lot of little factors that go into buying and picking my couches. Like I don't just say random grab a couch. Like I need
Um,
specific couches.
y'all are in your manual chairs too, like super low to the ground. So getting from like couch to your chair is like a lot easier, more realistic. I don't know. It's too low a transfer for me. Like I could do it with some help for sure, but like Sean's couch, like at his house, I mean, I could probably crawl my ass back in my chair if I like was real desperate, but odds of getting back there might be 50-50. Like without some
I will
help.
give you that because yeah, mine is like level for like a manual chair, which is high for most couches, but that's still low compared to the power chair seat level typically. So I
Yeah.
get that. Yeah.
Tom, does your power chair recline? You got the recliner, right?
Yeah, I'm reclining.
Yeah. So
If
you can
I,
just kind of recline and
if I had the recliner, I'd be in my. If I had a power chair with a recliner, I'd be in it a lot longer. Yeah,
No,
for
for
sure.
sure.
see.
I mean, the only times I usually get out of my chair during the day is one if I'm really not feeling good, and then I'll be like, all right, I need to like lay down for a couple hours and try to figure out what's going on. If I'm feeling like a pressure sore or something not right, or if like my pretty lady wants to, get cozy like on the bed or something, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'll hop out of my chair real quick for that.
Oh, I'm sure you will. Yeah. Tom just called
Uh,
by 6 p.m. He's just like, come in. Tom. He's like, all right.
Tom's like, I get to be the big spoon.
So now we know how to get rid of your get you in bed early. Right? Getting your
You're
lady in bed early.
Um, but no, Mama, I know I'm very lucky. I do have a lot of people in my life. I'm very fortunate to have like a ton of support and a ton of people. Like a lot of the choices I make in terms of like my independence are exactly that, like choices. Like I love to just be independent. I don't like having people around. I could have more people around to help me out if I wanted them or needed them, but I'm just like kind of like what Bobby said. Like I still feel young enough. I'm just trying to like operate at my maximum independence as long as possible. I'm also trying to be realistic in that, I live in, like, this is reality. I'm not, I'm a machine. Thanks, Roy. I appreciate that. But also, like, machines break and, like, machines need maintenance and machines need help from other machines sometimes too, and having that
Yeah.
self awareness, I think, is super important and what is necessary and essential to avoid serious health issues, serious complications. And I don't know, like I feel like I am kind of walking a tightrope sometimes in terms of like, I'm not feeling that great. I'm like maybe need for help, but I'm not in a position to necessarily like I can't just this week be like, hey mom, hey, like take off work. And she would if I asked her. And if I really needed to, absolutely. But I just can't necessarily like change it overnight. So being rational and realistic with my health, the expectations of the help that I might need, but also, like keeping myself good moving forward. Like, I don't know, Bobby, like this stuff is so scary, like seeing and hearing like what you're going through because you're my boy, I love you. You're like fam. So like that's scary and hard to see, but it is also like put some stuff into perspective for me
Uh,
too. Just like what Shawn is like, you can't ignore the reality that we are all aging. It is just like part of life. Now, aging with a disability, unfortunately, like does add lots of complications and lots of just makes it a lot more difficult. I think a lot more work in terms of that maintenance and maintaining ourselves. So going into this with full awareness of the difficult nature, the obstacles ahead, and you know, working. I mean, Bobby, I know you're saying like you do all this stuff to like stay healthy. Like I don't think that's in vain, and I think it does probably benefit you a lot. Like it has been a lot of health complications, but it is important for all of us, not just Bobby, but Shawn and me and everybody in the chat and everybody to, take care of themselves regularly, eat good food, exercise, move around, get up, move in your chair, be active, stay active, and just do those things to continue to keep yourself as healthy as possible. And when the health complications do come up, they're manageable. They're an obstacle that you can overcome and tackle, and they're not something that's gonna take you out for too long to where it's gonna be really difficult road to come back. And that's, I think, something to take away from Bobby is like the reason he's been able to recover and overcome the a lot of the difficult stuff in like the last 12 months now is because of how healthy you were going into it. I mean, right?
So even just the fact that
Does help.
like the cardiologist said, your heart could have stopped at any time. He's never seen one or hasn't seen one that big, and like if you might have been a less healthy person, that didn't grow up doing triathlons and all that, and like an athlete, like when you were younger and
Well, I
doing all the
mean, you
rugby, like
remember
maybe your heart wouldn't have been strong enough. So like that's
on your
yeah.
50th birthday, you're doing the hand cycling and like, setting
I
records on miles and like all this stuff. Like I really think that the overall like healthy nature of your lifestyle does hopefully like is lending to your recovery, on your recovery time especially.
Yeah, and to kind of put that into perspective too, Tom. What we have a hard time with, is that your age is coming, right, and that change is going to happen. Change is the hardest thing that we have as someone who's getting older. I mean, I'm dealing with it with my parents, who don't have a disability except for, they're losing their mind because they're old and they just sit there and watch TV all day. And, I'm just like, you guys, listen, your health is getting out of whack. And they're like, we're fine, we're fine. And it's like, no, you're not. You're forgetting everything. And it's just, and I'm like, we got to get you in a smaller house. We have, simplify. No, and it's the change. Change is so hard for them, and I think for us who, like Shawn and I, like we'll always want to be in this manual chair, but one day we're not. One day, we're going to be rolling with you, Tom. With the recliner, and I'll be in my chair, for 20 hours because I can kick back. But I know it's right, but to make that change, if you ask me, like it make your life so much easier right now, do it. And it's like, no, I can't do it right now. Or like my colostomy. I held that off for a year and a half of having the worst stomach pains and just being like, oh my God, what is going on with my stomach? And blah, blah, blah. I don't want to colostomy. I don't want to. And then I get in and I'm like, that I wish I would have done that like a long time ago. Like maybe even the day I got hurt.
Yeah.
yeah, man.
Um,
Uh,
Jeff, thank you
yeah,
so much
I was
for
gonna shout
$50
that
for the
out.
chat, dude. Really, really appreciate
Oh, wow.
the love and support. Thank you for being a part of the Live to Roll fam. Just really appreciate you, man. Really appreciate the support. And yo, I saw Frenchie in the chat too. He wanted to say
Yeah, I was gonna
what.
say shout out my buddy Frenchie. And Frenchie was the one that built most of this studio. So my brother did a lot of the framework, but Frenchie did like pretty much everything else. So shout out to
Frenchie's,
Frenchie in the chat there.
you can check him out featured in that Top Golf video that Shawn recently
yeah,
posted when out
yeah,
golfing with us. Um, and
Yeah.
yeah, health is tough. Health is important. Preventative care is always the best thing to work for. And it's just like what my mom said in the chat a second ago. Like get help early. Don't hesitate. Don't wait. It's probably why Bobby's here with us is because he didn't wait or hesitate to like, hey, I'm feeling messed up. I need to go talk to a freaking doctor and get some tests done and figure out what's going on.
Now, yeah, like now.
Uh, because yeah, it can be that important, and it is that important to take those steps. But yeah, the best medicine is always stuff you can do to like prevent things from happening in the first place. So don't forget to work on yourselves, people. Be patient, but work hard to keep yourself healthy and prevent health complications. And if
Yeah.
they do come up, prevent
Be,
them
also
worse than.
be an advocate to yourself, Tom. I told you something about when I was, when I went in for that UTI for 2 days, and I said there was something that um, they did a CAT scan on my stomach, make sure I didn't have any blockage. You know what
Yeah.
else showed up on that CAT scan?
What?
The enlarged heart. And it was put in the notes, and no doctor came to me and said, hey, you're seeing a doctor for this, and your heart enlarged. Nobody came. So
That's crazy.
maybe
Yeah.
all of what I went through could have been preventative. And what that says is, we had the records, meaning my chart, and thank God for these, uh, where you can follow your blood work now after it's been done. What is it called? I'm drawing a blank. It's called holy cow! I just dropped.
The online thing?
Yeah, going online and my
Like the
chart and
portal
the
something?
portal. Yeah,
Yeah,
thank
patient
you. The
portal.
Yeah,
portal.
some
I had
patient
just
portal, yeah.
drawn a blank on that word portal, but we had the portal, and no, but I mean, my wife wouldn't have gone on and like let me read that whole. What it read is I didn't have a blockage, and that's all they cared about. But still, the cardiologist or whoever read the CT scan did put that there was, some enlarged heart, and nobody came to me, and maybe something could have been prevented. I don't know. And, a couple people said like, oh, that's a lawsuit. I'm like, to go through a
Yeah, I mean,
lawsuit.
if they would at least seen it like before it got quite as big, or yeah, caught it a little earlier
You're
to
live,
get that
baby.
out.
You figured it out. It's not too
But
bad.
yeah, at
It's all
least,
But it
and at
did.
least you were fortunate enough to have that like nurse like that knew about quadriplegics and AD and all that, because something like that can be life saving. I feel like as well, like just having somebody with that knowledge in the
Yeah.
room.
But it does make me more aware of when I get my information through my portal to try to really be more thorough with it. And I wanted to let everybody know, be thorough with your health. When you get some paperwork back, you know what happens when we come home with a lot of paperwork?
Toss it. Yep.
You
That's
don't look at it. And there could be something there that might show something what could be going on with you before it actually gets out of hand.
Yep.
yeah. No, that's a good. I'm gonna try to start doing that now. I gotta start trying to keep track of that. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
so
Well,
I just went and
it,
had blood work this morning. So
I
Yeah.
guess it's not shocking, but it is kind of shocking how little it feels like your doctors and like the usually staff like know about you or your situation when it feels like you need them. I don't know. I've been like so lucky having like my mom always be my advocate, and like not just my mom but my dad and like my whole family on my side. But it's fucking scary. Like I remember just like a year ago, I guess a year and a half ago now, I was dealing with like some bladder stones, and I like had this doctor who was like, "Yep,
yeah,
we'll just go in, get him out real quick, be good to go." And then the appointment was over, and I'm just like, what?" And he was like, "Yep, just schedule the surgery in a couple weeks." And I left the appointment. I'm like, "Holy fuck! Like, is this guy ever like done surgery on a quadriplegic before? Does he know about AD? Does he know about my trophinol? Does he like what is that going to do? Like, I had an issue with like leaking in the past. Is he gonna like go in there and like open everything up? I'm gonna like be pissing myself for like weeks after this. Like, I just like got overwhelmed with anxiety in regards to like just security on surrounding like my confidence with the guy understanding my disability and the complications that lie therein. And it turns out Dr. Osborne was dope. He not only knew what he was going on, but he's just like super confident, understood everything, and maybe it was like a slight oversight to like not explain that to me. But also like in that moment, I was like in such discomfort that I didn't I wasn't even asking those questions. I wasn't thinking about it until I was like at home, and that's why it's important to again prepare for this stuff. But if you got somebody, not everyone's lucky enough to, but if you got somebody to go with you too, have somebody to go with you too. That way they can kind of process, take notes, and you can have a conversation with them afterwards as well and just kind of review and go over everything you talked about with your doctor. I don't know, like that's so helpful for me and just like understanding sometimes like what was said or just like reminding myself of something what was said that maybe I'm missing or not thinking about. I'm unfortunate to just like have that all my life because I was an adolescent and I always had like an adult with me, but it has taught me a lot as an adult too to uh, have better experiences with my doctors and my appointments, and understanding what's going on, and also communicating to them what's going on as well.
Yeah, and understand what understand each of the process. Like you said it, Shawn. You went and had blood work done today. Understand what the results are. Am I because you'll read these bunch of numbers and you'll see on the you could be going lower or you could be going follow your trends of your blood work.
Yeah.
Take a look back. Did I go higher? Did I go lower? Where somebody for we had Mason up in our chat earlier, and he was him and I talk offline a lot because we both deal with low sodium. And, I follow my trends of my sodium all the time. That's the one thing I have to. And so follow your trends of your blood work. And I know when you're young, you don't think, we're more.
I didn't. I'll be honest. I never really used to, but now that I am getting older, I feel like I should probably be more on top of that. So I'm gonna. I'm starting to now.
And I'm not saying be a doctor or anything like that, but just try to have a better, it is nice to have some. And there's some people that blow me away how like they're on top of their. I can barely pronounce half the medication like I'm on right now, but there's some people that are on like, and I'm only on now, 5 medications, and one's an aspirin, one's magnesium, and then there's 2 of the hard ones that I'm like, don't, I always start trying to tell the doctor, and that medication that, and I'm trying to pronounce it, and he says it for me, and I'm like, thank God, just keep saying it for me. But there's some people that are just really, on top of their medication. They're taking like, I don't know, 10, 15. Like I knew this sweet lady, she was with us, we lost her about a year and a half ago, but her name was Tova. And I've never seen somebody take so many. You remember her? Shawn?
Mhm.
I've never seen somebody take so much.
Toba was amazing. Yeah.
What's that, Tom?
I said Toba was amazing. Really.
Oh yeah, and she was on top of her. And she knew, when I tell her, ask her how you're doing, I knew I was going to have to sit there for like 15 minutes because she was going to give me the history, and because she knew everything about what was going on with her. So she was a sweet lady.
And just to be like fully like honest and transparent here, because that's what Live Troll is all about. I have implored for a long time. I call it like my dad's like method of like healing and recovery is just like wait it out. It'll either get better or it'll get worse. And sorry to put you on blast like that, Papa, but like that's kind of your mentality. It's been for a long time, and I picked up a little bit from it. Now I don't have that excuse anymore because my mom's really caught him blind, and he's like very on top of his health, doing his blood work, doing all of his like heart tests and all of his stuff. He just got carpal tunnel surgery, and he's like doing it all to make sure he's here, hanging around with us as long as he can be. But I don't know. I have that still to a certain extent. Like I'll get a bladder infection and I'll do things at home. I'll drink extra. I'll like irrigate extra. But like I'm not racing to the doctor to get antibiotics. Like I'm not like racing to urgent care like because I'm getting maybe even a couple of days of like bad AD. I'm just kind of like have had the mentality of like I'm gonna wait it out, like see how this goes, and it's all been like within like reason or like rational expectation. Like I'm not waiting to like die versus like going to the ER, but I hate the ER. I hate going to the hospital. Like I hate it so much. Like I will suffer at home rather than like go to the ER, and that sucks and it's unfortunate. And I don't think that's like necessarily like a super safe mentality to have. And I have gone to the ER on the instances where I was like just didn't have any other option, and waiting wasn't an option because I was in too much discomfort. And like we'll call my mom as a nurse, and I'll call my people and be like, "Hey, something's going on." But I don't know. I really do hate that. And one of the big reasons I have that mentality is like our healthcare system is just so freaking awful. Like the ER is just like what Bobby said. You gotta sit in the hallway for an hour to wait for a bed. You gotta sit in 3 or 4 hours, and even more discomfort in the fucking waiting room. While they process people, it's like, no, dude, oh, like need some help right now. I don't got hours to like wait. And if I am gonna like sit here and suffer, I'd rather be in my own environment, like at home, rather than like sitting around all these other sick ass people. And um, I don't know, that does suck. I that I'm thankful to have loved ones around me that like usually when I'm really not feeling good and down and out, they're like, "Yo, bro, you need some help, and we can't give it to you, so you got to go get it somewhere else." And I'm like, "Okay, I got you. Like, let's head to the hospital. Like, we'll go figure this out." But I just like wanted to give that perspective a little bit too, because um, was feeling a little bit like a hypocrite, saying that, I do a lot to take care of myself and do take a lot of preventative measures, but when it has come to like addressing my care in the past, like urgency, that maybe would have been to my benefit, I failed. And those are the reasons why I try to not be so stubborn, like as I do get older and worry more about health complications and issues and discomfort like that. But, like Kelly just said it, I hate being in the hospital. I freaking
Oh,
hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. It's the
I,
worst.
I'm right with you, and I got, I mean, Kelly said it not too long. He put up a medication that he's taken, but for his causes high blood sugar. But that's the next little step I have to learn about my having AFib, living with AFib now. How do I know I'm in it? And it sucks now that I have another worry of something, but if I have to take and I have to prevent from being in the hospital, I'm going to
Yeah.
learn about this shit, and I'm going to learn about, what's going to keep me out of the hospital, because yeah, I've done it way too many times, for, pneumonia, done it for a hip, done it for a broken femur. I've done it for bronchitis, and, I'm just, all those times, it just blows. I don't eat the food. I lose weight. It just like another restart. And luckily, this whole I was in the hospital for 35 days, and
Damn.
I can only tell you maybe three nurses that I was like, you are not my favorite. But other than that, every single nurse I had was amazing, and that never happens. I don't know, some about I had angels all over me these 35 days of being there, because I just couldn't have been more impressed by two different facilities. One that is not recognized as the top hospital, but every nurse I had was great. And when you have great nurses and you're in the hospital, it makes it a lot easier. The only thing that
Well,
doesn't make it easy is the food. Shawn, you would be so thick. I Every time I saw a plate of food, I was like, Shawn would not even touch an ounce of this. I never.
That reminds me. Luis asked earlier if I brought you lunch in the chat, and I should have. I should have brought you some food out there instead of the
Well,
hospital food.
and it was more. I just didn't have a big. I'm still trying to get an appetite. The other night, my wife's like, call Shawn, see what marijuana I can smoke to like get a good appetite going, because I still don't have a great appetite. I never drank so much Ensure, so I was drinking a lot of those. I knew I had to keep my calories up and my protein up, so I would do that. But just to think about solid food, it was just kind of wasn't my friend.
and Angry Quad just said 35 days. Holy F balls, Batman. That's
Yeah.
like my reaction is like, that's an insane. I mean, it's a long time. Not insanely long because I don't know, like I've heard of obviously like people have longer stints, but that's a long time to be in the hospital. And
Wow.
also another great comment from Angry Quad: practicing an active lifestyle works for me. It's definitely, I think, one of the best things that we can do to stay healthy, and it doesn't require a lot of work outside of just living. And that's like living an active life, and giving yourself some excuses to go out and you know do things, get up in your chair, get moving, get sunshine on your skin. Get that body moving, get that cardio going, like whatever it is. And you don't got to be like a exercise nut or anything, but just get up and move and get outside. um, and yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's exactly. I fully agree, man. That's the best thing you could do. Just get in your chair, push, you know, whatever. Get outside. Get anything you can do. Go if you're in the power chair, whatever. Just take a stroll around the block. Get it, you know.
And shout out to all our healthcare workers either. Like, it's not for them that I like fear and dislike the hospital. It's just because like that's where all my PTSD exists, is like in the hospital, like all that trauma. It's just a scary place for me. But big shout out to all of our amazing healthcare workers and the different facilities that help Bobby out and like help all of us out when we need them. Because yeah, without you guys, we wouldn't be here, be operating.
And you want to hear something great? So I was at Encompass, Test and Rehab, and there was I worked with this PT, and she had a student, a young kid, and this kid was, I'll tell you, man, he already looked like a regular PT to me. I mean, he was very knowledgeable. The way he was just, kind of grab me and then challenge me, I was just like very impressed. And I told him the day he left, I'm like, dude, you impressed the heck out of me. But one thing that was kind of cool is he's like, I wore my hat almost every day, my Live to Roll hat. And he's like, a couple people there were like, I heard about that. And then the student goes home, and I guess his girlfriend's a PT. And he goes home and he goes, I'm taking care of this guy who's got on YouTube, we should check it out. And she goes, yeah, I belong to YouTube. I've subscribed. I've been watching these guys for a couple of years.
Oh, that's funny. Lift Roll fam, what up? Let's go.
Lift Roll fam out there that, people do, and some of the rehabs are watching. So that was awesome to hear. And I did want to address something, and I know Shawn's going to be asking me here soon, so I'll just bring it out. I think it was Lewis asked me if
Los Angeles. What are the dates, Shawn? Give us the dates again. Remind everybody.
March 10th to the 12th.
Yeah,
the Abilities Expo.
So that we're going to be at, and there was your mom said it best, Tom, and I don't have an answer, because I want to be patient with myself, as Mama Conway said. She said, Bobby, be patient with yourself, getting back to stamina and your hardcore workouts. I want to be 100%.
Yeah.
Not be at the Billy's Expo, but I just also want to be that I can be present and not be like worried about being too tired. So I don't know yet. We're going to see. We're just taking one day at a time, but we're going to be at Billy's Expo coming up. And to answer Lewis's question, I'm not sure yet, but like Mama Conway, I'm just going to take it one step at a time and listen to my body.
Kelly just said pizza delivery in the hospital. That reminds me, I tell this story real quick. I was like 11, 12 years old. I was in the hospital. This is like before my Metrophenol and my bladder augmentation surgery. And we went to Sonoma Valley Hospital. And it's like the little hospital in my hometown. And they were like, nope, we don't know what to do. They're going to Foley in me. I wasn't able to catheterize, and I was mega dysreflexic. But they were like, we got to send you to Children's Hospital Oakland. That's where I did like my rehab, and that's where my physiatrist was. So Mama and I, we hopped back in the van and drove to Oakland Children's Hospital at like 10 o'clock at night. And we get there and we get admitted. And now it's like 11:30, and we're freaking tired and hungry. And I've been dysreflexic all day. And Mama's been stressed out and taking care of me and traveling all over, Northern California. And we're just like so hungry and tired. She was like, dang, I wonder if I could like order some pizza to the ER. So she goes out and talks to the security, and they're like, yeah, like it's all good. Like you order the pizza as long as you give us a slice. So Mom ordered some pizza to the Oakland Children's Hospital emergency room. And the pizza delivery driver just like rolls up to the ER like, did I get a pizza delivery here? And we gave a piece to the security guard, and we just like hung out in the ER all night long and munched
Wow,
on pizza.
that's
But I don't know,
That's
like I swear I've been so freaking lucky to have my mom because like as odd as it sounds, like those are some of my best memories is like me and my mom in the hospital, like especially something like that because we're just like trying to keep each other going. Like she's trying to make me laugh and like keep like just keep me feeling good, and I'll be trying to do the same for her, and we'll just be like delirious and in these goofy ass moods, just like busting up in the ER, like in the middle of the night, like all these crazy memories. So just big shout out to you, Mama. Love you. 'Cause that comment just reminded me of that, and yeah, remind me how lucky I am. So,
well. Then
uh,
when you have your or your pizza, Angry Quad asked me, 35 days. How was your bowel program? That is probably about the fifth or sixth best reason why I love my colostomy bag, because when you're in the
yeah.
hospital, I don't have to worry about a bowel program. All I
yeah,
have to, and the thing was, I brought all my own supplies of my colostomy stuff, because in the hospital they give you the cheapest stuff and they're slapping, and I'm like, I'm not using their stuff, so I brought all my own colostomy, and so it makes it 100 times easier when you're in the hospital and you don't have to worry about a bowel program. And some nurse that barely knows how to do it, try to do it, and they're like 5 minutes into it, they're like, "Oh, you pooped a little, you're done." It's like, yeah, that ain't right. No, that's not happening.
yeah.
And you know, so it was nice. That's one great reasons why I love having the colostomy if I have to be in the hospital, especially 35 days.
Yeah, I could see being in the hospital. That's like one of my biggest fears and reasons for trying to stay out of the hospital is like not wanting to deal with bowel care.
And Cal, you're gonna have to go back to the beginning of the episode
Yeah,
and watch the whole thing. No, Bobby,
the whole first
he
like
had
20
some,
minutes is
he had some long COVID symptoms that caused some fluid to be around his heart and in his lungs. And is no longer having those complications and is thankfully home and went through rehab and is on the mend. But still, it's a good chat we had, and we covered a lot of different topics. So I think it'd be worth going back and watching the episode from the
Yeah,
beginning if you feel so inclined. And we appreciate you being here and joining us. Shawn,
appreciate everybody. We've had a really
appreciate
active chat.
everybody.
Everybody's
It's been an awesome show. Lots of activity in the chat, a lot of people watching, and we appreciate you guys staying and hanging out the whole darn time. And if you could just hang with us for another minute, I'm going to just thank our sponsors real quick, just to give some love to those who support us. Mobility Professionals is a rehabilitation equipment company out here in Southern California, and they specialize in wheelchairs and other mobility aids and other rehabilitation style equipment. So if you find yourself in the Southern California area and in need of some assistance attaining said equipment, stop right now, give mobility professionals a call, let them know Live to Roll sent you, and then relax as all of the stress melts away as they take over, getting you the equipment you need, as simple and as easy a process as they can make it. And similarly, their sister company, Urology Professionals, is national, meaning they can service you anywhere in the United States with any urological supplies you might need. Nobody should want or need for catheters if they require them. They were covered by every insurance under the sun, and urology professionals can help get them to you. Talk to your insurance, navigate that crazy system. They got specialists that it's their job to do that, and they'll get you your supplies regularly, so you don't got to worry about and stress out about that anymore. And last but certainly not least, for the month of February, Mobius Mobility, the creators of the amazing iBot power wheelchair, is sponsoring the Live to Roll channel. We did an amazing episode a few weeks ago with one of their engineers that work for the company, and I think it was a really amazing episode and a really great time. And just
yeah,
to plug a little bit about the chair, it is probably the most technologically advanced mobility aids out there and the cheapest power wheelchair I've ever heard of, coming in at an amazing price of just around $34,000. They do get approved and covered by certain private insurances. Veterans
And by
have
the VA.
eligibility for
So yeah, if you're a
those.
veteran.
The VA, not quite Medi-Cal, Medicare yet, but they have dedicated team members that their job is to help uh, find financial aids for individuals
Yep.
seeking this chair. So it's
Yeah, they
worth
have two
giving
people.
if you have any interest at all, and they will give you lots of information and work with you on the financing if your insurance isn't able to cover it.
Yeah, really cool company, and we thank them and Mobility Pros, Urology Pros, all our sponsors. Appreciate you guys,
Love
and
it.
we appreciate all you guys watching in the chat. And
Yeah,
Jeff, thank you for that super
that
chat
like button.
earlier, the $50. That was incredible. We really appreciate that kind of support. And yeah, if anybody else wants to support like that, check out the website. We got a bunch of new merch coming. I'm hoping by the end of the week I should have some new shirts, all the hats restocked, beanies, some zip up hoodies, lots of stuff. So
And the weekend of March 10th through the 12th, we're going to be at the Los Angeles Convention Center for the Abilities Expo. If you are in Southern California, if you want to feel like not in Southern California but want to travel, it's a really amazing event that happens, all weekend long. We're going to be hanging out. We're going to be selling merch. We're going to be meeting people. We're going to be podcasting from the expo, and y'all know already. Those of you who haven't, check it out. Check out some of those videos, and yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe.
and
Yeah,
all our sponsors will be there as well, so you can check out all of them too. Talk to the companies. Check out the
Talk
iBot
to
if you want. All right, guys.
love you guys. Appreciate you, and yeah, I think that's about it, right, Shawn?
I think so. So yeah, thank you
Watch
guys
out.
all. We appreciate you.
What up,
Welcome back,
dude?
Bobby. I think
You're
everybody's
catching
happy to have you back.
Bobby, we love you,
Yeah.
man.
thank
For real
you so
though,
much.
no more health issues, bro. I can't.
Or you're,
Not,
I
you're not
want
allowed.
you to come kick my ass personally now.
I'm going to, and I'm going to literally kick your ass. I don't know how it's gonna work with the whole like
We'll
quadriplegia
figure it
thing.
out, man. We'll
We're
figure it out.
gonna figure it out. We're
Well,
gonna
in some
figure it
way, man. I
The
think I'm gonna
purple
kick my own
flag.
ass when I go back in the hospital.
Uh, all right, guys. Awesome. We appreciate you guys. We'll be back next week. Tom's gaming tomorrow night if you guys want to check out the gaming
out.
stream. And Bobby
Don't
will be
miss it.
back on Thursday. So he's off for 5-6 weeks and he's doing a double
Back to
double
back.
week this
So,
so he's doing
with my
rolling
buddy
over the
Robert.
hill with Robert Soto on Thursday. So check that out. And
We
actually
have,
we're running the
yeah,
women and rolling over the hill back to back Thursday. So we got shows galore coming up these next 2 days. So
Let's
check them
go.
out.
so Wednesday,
All right,
Thursday,
everybody.
we're with you.
Live to roll. Have a good
All right,
night,
everybody.
everyone.
Take care.